Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Psychic Zen 333. I am here with Nancy Barr, and tonight's subject is manifesting. We hear so much about manifesting, and there's plenty of coaches who talk about it, but Nancy and I were going to talk about some of our experiences with manifesting and feel things that we've come to rely on with these different wisdoms or techniques. So everybody say hi to Nancy. Nancy, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So, Nancy, would you like to kick off about what your feelings on or experiences with manifesting?
Well, it's a open subject because we manifest every day. I mean, people manifest all the time, and if you're upset, you manifest your feelings and you manifest what you're going to do about them and so on. So manifesting is, it's just like we do it every day. We manifest things every day. So it's not such a mystery. I don't think it's such a mystery myself that we're capable of manifesting using our imagination. You can manifest, you can use your imagination that someone said this and they believe that and they feel this, and you can have all your imagination going against something, or you can be moving towards manifesting the life you want or the things that you'd like. It's easier because of all the upbringing and the belief systems and all of the experiences that we've had, in a suffering universe, so to speak. So sometimes that's an easier manifestation than changing it and moving it to what we want and what we believe we haven't seen yet. And so therefore it becomes, important to us. But we do the manifestation all the time. We can manifest that someone said this and they did that and they feel this and they feel that. And we haven't seen there may be not anything that is showing that evidence to that, but we still can use our imagination and make the worst of it and have all that chatter come in and create all kinds of problems for us. So I don't think that manifestation has to be difficult, but it's difficult only because we have doubt. We have separation. We feel separate from the God force, the divine. And when we feel separated, like everyone else has it, but I don't, or people are doing well and I'm not. So then we go into doubt, which goes into confusion, which creates a lot of problems. So if we understand basic principles of manifesting, no matter whether we're manifesting something negative or we're manifesting something positive, I think it makes it a lot easier.
Right. I 1,000% agree with you. The idea for me where these Psychic Zen podcasts came from was that I'm always picking Nancy's brain and looking for the wisdom to be the best version, the truest version, the most aligned version of myself. And sitting in her living room or in temple getting this knowledge from her was pivotal to my life. And when we would talk about these things, there's always an eye-opening expression that she would offer, something, a simple phrase. She's simple and she's clear. With what she just said about manifesting, Nancy's the one who opened my eyes to that manifesting was even a thing to begin with. I didn't have anybody to teach me about manifesting prior to Nancy, but I wasn't not manifesting before I met Nancy. I just learned about deliberate manifesting after I met Nancy. And there's some really fantastic teachers like Abraham Hicks and Florence Scovel Shinn and Wayne Dyer, in addition to Nancy, that were expressly influential to my journey, understanding that what I think, what I feel, what I believe channels into what I'm manifesting, and that whatever it is I put my energy towards desiring or bringing into my life, that whatever I'm vibrationally feeling or expressing doesn't cease to be part of my vibration, but it comes with me. So wherever you go, there you are. So one of the things that I did before starting this podcast was that trusty notebook that I have with Nancy was went back into the podcast went back into my notebook and wrote some things down in question form, but also statements that Nancy had said in the past that I felt were in particularly helpful to me in regards to lessons that she had offered, as well as manifesting. So one of those things being that worry and stress come from the ego. We just did last episode a podcast on ego, but stress and worry seem like they can be strong parts of our lives if we let them. And sometimes it feels like it's a natural part of life. But Nancy, what you've taught me is that we don't have to indulge worry and stress. That is it's a default or a deliberate. We deliberately choose it, or we do it by default, not realizing that there's a better way. So can you talk about the role of how do we navigate our way out of stress and worry? How do we make that detachment?
One of the important things, again, I feel, is that we're in a different age. We're in the clearing age. And people may not understand, or they may have their own opinion, but they may or may not understand how important and how big a deal it is to move from one age to the next. In this case, it's probably one of the biggest things, the biggest factors that has ever happened to us here on Earth in our lifetime, particularly because the Pisces age was a suffering age, and it was an age that was a sort of a dark age, actually. And things were not easy. So a lot of suffering, a lot of, disappointment, a lot of things happening that I wanted to do this. I felt I should have had this. I'm supposed to, my belief systems, I've been taught that you got to succeed and you got to have, this, you should have a house and you should have this and a car, and you're supposed to have a job and you're supposed to work it the rest of your life and you're supposed to do this and that. And it was the last age was very, very much full of belief systems and the matrix, the computer program, and all the experimental kind of behavior. And so I think the first step to manifesting right now is to understand that we're in a different age. We're in the light age now. And the chances of getting and having what we want is much greater than it was when we were in the Pisces age. And it's not like people didn't have things, but it was a whole different ball game. And today it requires us to have the faith and the trust and light up. Like before, we used to clear spaces and clear dark and clear this and clear that. Today, there is no such thing. It's not about getting rid of these things. It's about lighting up. When you add light, the dark has to surrender to it, and it has to bend to it. So I don't think that, and then it's understanding what the real God is, or the real divine, the real creator is. I mean, it's not, it doesn't want us to suffer. I mean, I have no qualm or saying, I know for myself, that divine being has no desire for anyone to suffer. And there's no reason. I mean, we could say, well, I'm a mom, or I'm a parent, and I'm having trouble feeding my kids. Well, first of all, there should be absolutely no reason that there's not enough food to go around to everybody. We waste a lot of food, and the earth is abundant, but the way that mankind looks at it or feels about it or what it does is something different. So a lot of manifesting has to do with getting rid of the old stuff, the old belief systems and the things that don't measure up anymore. And then you have to know who you are. You got to understand that you're source. You are part of source. And we were not taught that. We were taught that there is a source one way or another. There's some kind of source. But most people think, even if they don't believe in God, they don't believe in the God that is presented by most people, but it doesn't matter. The source, the high source, is in each person. It's in the breath, and it's inside each person. No one gets left out. If you're breathing, you have it. And so now we're put in a position where we need to know who we are. We, know thyself, and to thyself be true, meaning real. And it's important that we understand that whatever I want, most of what I want, anything I really want, is already there for me. And I don't see it, so we don't have the trust. And we're not used to having things that we want. We're not used to always having everything come along and be, so we think we have to work for it. The being in the third dimension, and the only way I can earn money is to work hard for it. And I was taught, that I will never mount to anything by someone else's standard, and I'm going to have a lot of problems, and I'm going to not like, it doesn't matter if you like your work or not. It matters a great deal that you like your work. It matters a great deal that you like your life. And a lot of things are happening that are not very much fun. So it's harder in one way, because we were faced with so many obstacles: the weather, losing homes, fear of all the different things that are happening, and a lot of propaganda of fear going on in the news, and people's belief systems that the world's coming to an end, and so on. So we have all these different factors, and we're confused. And so it's very difficult to manifest beyond my greatest dream if I don't believe that there is a greatest dream possibility.
Right.
And so I've got to change. And how do we do this? You start letting go. I think the most sane part of this is you start letting go of the things that you already know are not true. Because if you go through something that's really not comfortable and so on, and a lot of people in relationships, we blame people, we point fingers, we have three fingers pointing back. All men are this, women are that, this is that, and people are all going to take me, and they're going to do something really bad. Was that true in the past, in the Pisces age? Maybe so, possibly. It could still be true if I believe it, but if I get everything I think. So I have to get into a place where I change the way I think and feel about myself. And then I've got to get into a place where I know that everywhere else is abundance except here. The idea of having abundance is already in the higher levels. It can manifest anything. And it reminds me of just recently, the other night, when I was teaching a class, it reminded me of Dr. Spot, and all the shows that were, what do I want to say?
Star Trek? Right, Dr. Spock?
Space shows. Yes, they had a replicator, and they put in whatever they wanted. And then there's this replicator that dropped the dinner, or it would manifest whatever it took. It took the vibration that was programmed in, the desire that was programmed in, and then it designed, the whatever it was, and it became real. They already have things like this going on that people may not pay attention to, and that is, you can take copies in a copy machine, and it can make an actual physical thing.
Right.
You can make a gun. You can make this. You can make that. They're now doing the same thing with housing and a lot of other things. It's easier to see and understand if you pay attention, and not to the loss, but you start paying attention to what really is being done. You can have many, many things. They have $8,000 homes. They have that are being made, out of different materials and being made. There's so much happening that it's easier to show us and to let us understand that we can manifest what we want. Well, how do I know what I want if I've never had it? Well,
right.
if you know yourself, and you find out that your source, do you limit source? Well, we do all the time. We ignore it. We're busy. We pay attention to everything else. You could be meditating on source inside your mind, inside, and paying attention that breath is source. And then the thought will come in, and then you go off into another thought system that has nothing to do with source, or the thing that you're asking for, the focus that you want. So you have to learn to focus. and you have a great imagination. You don't have a problem. People do not have a problem imagining all the hardships and the problems they have, but they seem to have a problem in manifesting, and understanding and manifesting and paying attention to all the good things because they don't see them. And right beside each adversity, and if one hand is the adversity, the problem, or whatever the lack is, on the right hand is the possibility of having the opposite, having the abundance. So every day I'm making decisions according to, and I get what I think. That's a law. That's one of the universal laws. We get what we think. If we think lack, we're going to get lack. If we think problems, we're going to have problems. Whatever we think is going to manifest. Sooner or later, it's going to manifest. So but before we even start manifesting and believing that there's such a thing, and I don't think, it doesn't work for me, I've tried it, I've done this, I've done that, before you do that, you've got to clear yourself and become more. It's not that you have to clear yourself and know everything. How do I become a better person? How do I get the things I want? But you're being shown every day what you don't want. Every day when you have something happen to you that you didn't like, what it's doing, instead of it being an obstacle and it's terrible and I'm being picked on and all this, really what it's for is to show you that you don't want that anymore, that you want the opposite.
Right.
So we got to start thinking opposite.
I have a question in this for you. I have a individual who says, what if you do not know what God feels like? Or with the place that she finds the hiccup is, I don't know what God feels like, so how can I call God in? How can I believe God's there for me to help me do these things?
I think what she's talking about is most people. I don't think she's alone on that. I think a lot of people don't know what God feels like. And because we have been taught it's this and it's that and it's not this and it's not this. And I don't know whoever that person has ever loved before and how strong it was in the love form. The same kind of feeling would be beyond, extended way, way, way beyond whatever that feeling was. So there's a lot of people that don't know what the feeling of God is. And that's part of the problem. That's why we have people fighting each other all the time. We've got wars all the time. We've got people hurting each other and hurting themselves. And we've got children that are abandoned. We've got food that's not being eaten and thrown away. We've got so many different things. And none of those people know what God feels like, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing that. They wouldn't have a need to do it. They'd be at peace and they would be able to manifest something that brought them soothing rather than conflict.
Right.
And so the first thing, if this person, I understand exactly what they're saying, because I've been lucky enough to feel, know and have more experience with the loving God. But that's because I believe in it. I know that that's the kind of God that is out there. Now, I personally ask, show me. Let me feel it. The Foreigners have a beautiful song, the group, the Foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know where the love is. I love that song. I think that song sums it up, what man is going through. I'm not trying to sell Foreigners in their song, but this song is amazing. I want to know where the love is. I want you to show me. I've come so far. I've traveled so far. I've come through all this and that. I've walked this lonely trail, and show me where the love is. And I think that song is so important, because exactly the answer, part of the answer to what this person is asking, and it's a very good question, and that all questions are good, but this one is really on top of being right on the money, because if we don't know what it feels like, we need to ask, show me, let me know, let me understand, and it will. And if you haven't had it yet, then you're far away. It's like when you stand far away from something, the details aren't there. You can sort of see an image, but the details aren't there. The closer you have a desire, the thirst to know, and Teresa, that's one thing you don't lack. You lack this thirst to understand things too. and you do it beautifully. And so, you go and you'll ask and you'll find out and you'll have your own experience from it. So anyway,
in this time now, when we were in the Pisces age, one of the things that we could do to manifest was we could go to a parallel life and we can say, I want I'll use myself as an example. I want to bring in the Teresa from that parallel life that is, has a pair of shoes on that I like. I'm just being simple and a little silly, but I'm making the example, whether it's money or relationship or house or whatever the case is, that aspect that has that knowing, that aspect of us that has that the stuff that we want, is that still relevant now in the Aquarius age?
Well, it wasn't a Pisces thing. It was a dimensional thing. It's a conscious thing.
Oh, okay.
It had nothing to do with Pisces, and there would probably be more. To answer your question, yeah, I think this is a light age, and so I think this is something that people are supposed to experience. I think there is a way, because this world is lacking just what that person said. I mean, they're absolutely being honest. People are lacking the truth about the real God or the real divinity, because we've been lied to. There's a lot of false things, and so they don't. The reason the other didn't work, and the belief systems of the other working, is because it wasn't based in love. It was based in power. It was based in a lot of other greed. It was based in I'm better than you. It's based in ego. It's not based in the universal law of what the true divinity is. But that true divinity is right inside of the breath. I mean, I told you before, I went, oh my God, you're a genius. You put yourself right in the breath. And people don't realize that there is a very powerful divine that created the whole world, the whole universe, created every single thing that ever was, that is priceless, and it's right in the breath, and you can't pay for it. You can't buy it. You can't buy another breath. When it's not here, you're not here. It is amazing that it's right smack inside of us. And we need to, how does this person, how can they find, the answer to experiencing it? Is to, number one, ask. Number two, breathe and pay attention to the sound of the breath. Pay attention to the breath, the feel of the breath. And then it may not happen right that minute with that, but it's going to happen, because you do that. Somewhere outside, you're going to have an experience. Somewhere outside, you're going to hear the purity of the songs. Some of these children today are singing and they're dancing and they're playing the Mozart, they're playing the piano, they're playing instruments, they're drumming, they're doing all these incredible things because they're part of the celestial choir. And they are pure. The sound is pure. And the same thing with adults. Anyone who has and comes from their heart, whatever they're doing has a pure essence to it. And when you have that ability to come and open up your heart and have enough faith and trust that you're going to open up your heart, then you're going to get rewarded. And somebody will say, well, I opened up my heart and I got hurt. I didn't say you don't have good decisions making. I'm saying that if you selected somebody that wasn't in alignment with you, or maybe they were in alignment as far as you to learn or to experience, maybe had children together and it was something the children needed both parents or whatever, as far as, in the past, they needed to finish out things with both parents. But whatever it is, something that doesn't belong to you anymore, it shouldn't belong to you anymore. I mean, by your choice, it shouldn't belong to you anymore. And once you start discarding those belief systems and all that kind of stuff, not valid or true for you from your own experience, then, I mean, how do you know what God is? You have to experience it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can describe it. I can describe things from the cows come home, and I might be absolutely accurate in my description, but until someone else experiences it for themselves in their own unique way, it's just going to be words. It's going to be an idea. It's going to be a belief system. The idea is to get past belief systems into knowing.
Yes. That was
Into
something I had
knowing,
done.
and knowing's in the now. It's not in the past. It's not because someone wrote a prophecy of it. It's not, I mean, it's been written about because people have experienced God and they do write about it, or divinity, or whatever anybody wants to call the creator, or whatever somebody believes. But you can't have false and truth in the same moment. You have to choose one or the other. And so the universe is constantly showing us what we don't want that's not us. It's constantly bringing something we're bringing something, or I think this is the way it's got to be, or someone told me I've got to do this, or someone told me it's this way or that way, or whatever, or I fall into the trap. If you fall into a trap, it's only to show you not to be there.
Yeah. There's, from my experience, there was a lot of surrender involved in my success in manifesting. I was asking, and just like the individual I asked on behalf of, when I started searching, I didn't have the knowing. I had the hope. And I say to the people that I work with, and even to myself, hope holds space, meaning that I may not know, but I'll never get to a point where I know if I don't hold space to find out. And
hope is a belief system.
Hope is a belief system.
Hope is a belief system. To have hope, you believe that something's going to happen, and so on. Belief systems are different than knowing.
I do agree with that. My objective, when I would say that, is that coming from the very definition of hope is just to hold space. So just to be open. Maybe that's the better way to say it. In openness, I can receive. Sure. I can't receive when I'm closed off. So if my ego has told me for years I'm not lovable, well, if I'm up to here, if I'm up to my forehead in pain, where I can't believe that I'm not lovable anymore and I really want a different life, I have to hold space or be open to the idea that that I have to see myself worthy of love, and then I have to hold space that others also see that I'm worthy of love. But before I go out and say, will you love me, will you love me, will you love me, I go to a source that I may not have known initially and say, God, help me to see, or help me to know, or help me to align to the people that will love me and see me as lovable, and help me first and foremost to love myself so that my vibration easily attracts people who find me lovable, that sort of thing.
I understand what you're saying. I might choose a different word than hope to describe what you're saying, but it doesn't matter, because hope is, gives a door that opens. The reason that I would have a little problem with the word hope is it has a preconceived idea attached to it.
Can you tell me what the preconceived idea is?
The preconceived idea is I might have hope that something will happen in a certain way, and maybe it's off, maybe it's not in alignment with what I want.
That makes sense.
So that's the only reason. I'm not picking on the word hope too much, but a little bit. It just depends on how the person, you were using it as a platform to open up your heart. But a lot of people, they stand in hope, but hope is a belief system. And the belief is, I know it's coming. I know I'm going to have money someday. I know I'm going to be okay. I understand that the money is coming at the end of the week, because somehow it'll come in. I understand that I'll get this job and so on. I hope that I get this job and so on. But if you go to the higher levels, you already have it.
That's right. That's right.
You already have it. It's just a matter of vibrating at the same vibration of what you want. Everything is vibration. Every single thing is vibration. So hope is a vibration. It's better than being so closed off that you have no hope, Right. But it's not. It's not the same thing as having an open mind to bring in everything and anything. If I understand that light is the only answer to, there's no negative if you bring in light. If light comes in, if you're in alignment, then negative has to bow out. But that's not the case that happened in the Pisces age. That's not the way the Pisces age was. So we're coming into a new age now. We've just talked about that a little bit. We're coming in to a new age, and this new age is different rules. It's the same.
Right.
It's the same. The different rule is it only works with solution. It doesn't work with problems. The problems are not important. You don't have to go through, oh my God, I went through this and I gotta find out about it and I'm gonna sit here and concentrate on it. And if you do that, you're gonna create more of it.
Yeah,
because you're gonna get what you think. So then you have to change your words, and then you got to change the way you look at things, and then you got to sit there and go, oh my God, this is so hard. I believe this, it always, my life has never, I hear that all the time. My life has never been good. And I've never had anything happen good, this and that. Well, if that's the case, then it's not karma. It's about the way I've been taught to look at things, or the things that I've been doing. Because if I have a lifetime, we should be really excited about a lot of things. And it's hard because of all the negative stuff that's happening. But I don't have to go through that. I don't have to go through it. And what good does it do for me to go through it? I will never be able to help anyone else through it because I'm already in my own problem. I have the same problem. So why would I? It was okay for me to understand the problem by going through things in the Pisces age. It's not okay for me to stay there.
Right.
I can help people a lot more by being in a higher level. And light is contagious. Love is contagious. Happiness is contagious. What is there to be happy about? You don't have to have anything to be happy about. This is the key. It's inside you. You don't have to have it happening. This is another reason why I hope, but you don't have to have hope and have something happen in order for you to delve into inside and go into that nectar of happy and that nectar of love and peace and harmony. It's already inside you. You already have it. And then once you do that, then the chances of manifesting what you want are going to be a lot greater because it'll take care of all of it.
I love what you just said, to be happy for the sake of being happy. We're so taught in our society that some kind of conditional thing, some person, some place, some achievement is the key to happiness. When we don't have it, there's suffering. If we get it and we're still not happy, we're confused and then we're suffering. So I love that you mentioned you can be happy just for the sake of being happy without any kind of contingent things attached to it.
And people don't believe that, Teresa. They don't have that experience, but they can.
There's so much.
And, the eyes, people want 20/20 vision, right? I mean, people want good vision. It's the eyes that see the outside that mislead people.
Yeah.
But you can see inside, and you can see whatever unfolds is being something either, hey, I'm out of here. I don't ever want to go through that again. And you don't.
Right.
Again, I am reminded periodically that, when I was 8 years old and I had my first healing, I had polio and I got rid of it. I learned to say no. I learned at 8 years old, you could say no to a dangerous disease and it left. I didn't know how at the time. I know better how now, but I didn't at the time. All I know is no, I'm not.
I love that
when
story.
I was told I'd never walk again, no. No, we're not doing that, no. And that's sort of what we have to do now. It's no to, I don't feel like suffering anymore. No. I think there's got to be a better way. There's got to be, if it's a loving God and it's inside of me, then show me but it's not about going and all the terrible things that happen to me. They're not going to matter when this other thing takes place. You're not going to care what happened. You don't care what the person said to you. You don't care that they did this or that. Forgiveness is automatic. And you only care about, I am happy. And I am unfolding myself. I'm learning who I am. Who I am is source.
Right.
Part of source. People don't teach that. A lot of people don't teach that.
I love when you tell the polio story, and when, to me, it was the most eye-opening, amazing thing. Every time I hear it, I'm so empowered because of it. That you, at 8 years old, you received this diagnosis of polio, and you're like, no, I just don't accept that. And
Teresa, I had a choice. I was given a statement that she may never walk again. But what we need to understand is there are many who do this.
right.
There are many children who get well against bad diseases, and they on some level do something similar, or someone around them does prayers of something similar. What I did was just me, but there was many. I mean, it helped me because I've lived my life this way, saying no to things like that. But that is very common. It's much more common than what people understand. You say no to things all the time. We all say no to things all the time, and things change. When you have a major change in your life for the better, you said no somewhere.
Right.
You said, that's not me. That's not who I am.
Right. It was so inspiring to me, because we can be, in some circumstances, conditioned to believe that we have to accept some things. And when you find out that you don't have to accept the negative thing, and that there is a life beyond it, it is the most liberating thing to find out how sovereign you are.
It sets people free. I don't. My eyes see all this stuff. I see the wars the same as everyone else. I see all the killing and people bragging about how many people they killed, and I see all that stuff. I'm not trying to judge it. I see it. I understand it. I understand it's going on. It doesn't. I know that love is the only answer, and love is the highest energy. Now, I don't feel responsible that I got to change anyone and everyone's opinion or ideas. But I have no problem pointing out to each person, whoever wants to hear it, you've got source inside of you, and it is pure. It is the most powerful thing on the planet, and it's right in your breath. And the only thing that it takes for that to be activated is for you to recognize that may be the case, or that is the case, and you acknowledge it. The only thing it takes is consciousness and focus that it's there. And then you'll start, as you start understanding that, you're going to start seeing things change in your life. You're going to start being peaceful. You're going to start feeling, oh my God, there's no reason. I'm just feel happy today. I didn't know, gee, I just feel it that way. That's, then you start having experiences.
Yeah, surrender was my breakthrough.
That's going to be, we're talking about manifesting, but that's going to be the key to manifesting, is changing what I don't want and what's not me and not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then letting the universe give it to me. But it's not going to give it to me if I'm, it's not going to respond to doubt and confusion. It's not going to respond to, it will help me maybe undo it or get rid of it, but it's not going to see it as real. It will never see negativity, and it will never see the unreal, the illusion. It will never make it real, because you can't take a dark candle and light a candle.
Right.
So the real is a lit candle, lighting a dark candle.
When I first started out, when you first introduced this subject to me, I knew really not that much about it. And whether it's I didn't remember that I knew as much as I knew, we'll say it that way. And when I started to learn these things, I started watching Abraham Hicks, working with you on this. My biggest takeaway is that the things that came after, it was like I had to open the door, and the door was, I don't know. I'm just going to be comfortable with that. I don't know. I'm going to be open. I know that I can't fill up a plate and then expect something to come on it. And one of those big influencers where you got a piece of paper out and you drew on the piece of paper and over again and said, this is what chatter looks like. How do you expect a message to come through? I took that and superimposed it onto the manifesting, that if I have too much mental chatter or resistance, I'm not going to be able to receive anything. So openness and surrender became a big, to me, a keynote of what it meant to manifest. And then I'd be driving my car or taking a shower or doing some random thing, and I would get this download, this aha moment, this epiphany, and I'd be like, oh my God, I know now. I see now. And I always would excitedly call Nancy and be like, Nancy, I know now. And I would, and it was every time I got the download, it was clear. I knew where it belonged. I saw how the pieces fit together. It was like nothing I had ever experienced before. Because, when you're not, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Is it here now? Now? How about now? You're not anticipating it. You're not letting your ego drive the vehicle. You're saying, okay, I asked for it and I'm going to trust that it's going to be delivered, and it's not going to be delivered on my time. It's going to be delivered in divine time. So now I can release it. So there's a let go that's equally important in this. So now, yeah, the let going, the let go and the openness, space is important to the process. And then I'd get this download, and it would be like magical pieces, like a puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle. And I would be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. And the whole picture would be clear. And I'd be like, oh my God, not only do I see the picture, but I see each piece of the picture and how they all fit together. Wow, what an amazing thing. And getting that experience would encourage me to reach for the next experience, to hold space for the next experience, to get clearer about who I am and what I want and how I want to live. And why is it important to have personal development? Why is self-awareness important? Why is it important to listen to the breath? Why is it important to bring God in on my subjects? And for me, even understanding that God was real to begin with happened alongside meeting Nancy, because I knew I belonged in Vegas, but I didn't have the money that I needed at the time to be living in Vegas. But I knew I was supposed to be there and not go home. And I winded up getting this job. It just fell into my lap and everything worked itself out. And I said, oh my God, God is real. I didn't have a manifestation book. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have any person, place, or thing that was dictating to me a belief system other than pure open-heartedness and receiving. And then one of the other things I asked for was a teacher. And that's, to me, how I got Nancy, or the door between Nancy and I opened. I believe the wheels were already set in motion, but my desire to understand why I was able to see things and hear things and know things, not understanding it brought me to Nancy by asking from my heart. So to me, God, my relationship to God is not in any one thing. It's between me and God. And like, as Nancy has said, in the breath. And the more I stood open to source providing for me, the more I was provided for. And I think that if you don't try to eat an elephant in one sitting and you take one bite at a time, you will begin to feel that unconditional love. You may receive one big, great, wonderful download, but if it comes in pieces, it's just as good as receiving the whole. And I don't think we could ever really receive the whole, because the vastness of all that is, right? Do you believe that too, or no, Nance?
Well, it's unlimited. So, right. Can you ever get to the end of the limited? Does it ever become limited? No, I know it doesn't. But yeah. The thing of too, Teresa, it's important to understand, I think too, it's not about only getting things. I know that's not where you were coming from, but in addition to that, it's nice when things happen and unfold, and we get opportunity, and we get all kinds of things where we can go and learn again and expand ourselves and understand ourselves greater and so on. But it's about peace. It's about having calm and peace and enjoying anything that comes to me. I'm going outside and enjoying a sunset, going into the car, and I actually have a car and it takes me where I want to go, and I'm still alive. But it's not just about getting things. It's about experiencing and bringing our energy to the highest place possible, and so that we're contagious, and people around us feel it, and they also see that they can have their own individual experience. But it's also about, how do I feel? How am I experiencing? What am I doing? What's my purpose? I get up in the morning and I go to bed and I'm happy getting up, and I go to bed happy, and that was a good day.
Right. Do you believe that we have a purpose, Nancy? That comes up a lot in conversations. People are looking for their purpose.
Sure. I think the purpose is to find God, that your source, and that it's right inside you. And what all the different things you do to experience different angles of that same thing, then it's purpose.
So is that it? We're God experiencing itself?
Yes.
Okay. So you and I have had this conversation before, and I enjoyed it. And
I think it's fun. We should enjoy the opportunities. It would be nice if you really enjoyed your life and so on. Now, like I said, some of the third dimension here is still hard.
Right.
Just like all the weather patterns and all the people losing their homes and things like that. I didn't say everything was fun yet, but I can go through things, and if I'm in that space that we're talking about, I will make it through that a lot easier than someone that doesn't have that.
That's right. That's one of the things I wrote down that you had said before. Joy overrides all obstacles. You don't have to search when you know. And
well, joy comes when you are in that experience. That's part of the outcome of the experience, is that it's joy is the recognition of the gift that you have.
Oh, I love how you said that.
Well, that's what it is.
Joy is the recognition of
joy
the gift.
Joy comes the same thing with gratitude. I think, again, I mentioned this before, but gratitude to me is important, and not because someone told me I need to do that and be thankful for everything. I think the reason it's important is that you can have, when you have true gratitude, not just, I want to sound good, this is what I want and I'm not quite there. But when you have real gratitude means you just recognize the gift that you were given.
Right. And that's another big important element of law of attraction and manifestation, is finding or being able to see clearly all the things that you are grateful for. In my own personal experience, I would get to the point where I was like, I'm grateful for the oxygen that I breathe. I'm grateful for the trees that are here. I'm grateful for being able to look up into a beautiful sky, whether it's a daytime or nighttime. I'm grateful for the community that I live in. I'm grateful for,
So who are you grateful to?
Source, for providing all of this beauty for us to take in.
How about Mother Earth?
That too. Definitely that too.
There's a lot of connections that we have here. We're a team, in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
And having that gratitude too, that, I'm grateful for the people that have been in my life. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for a lot of things.
Right.
And, it's the gratitude is, people in our life, some people can be difficult. But even I go in, and I have just recently done it again. I thank the people who've been difficult. Thank you so much. Thanks, Dark. Thank you for teaching me about light even more, or reminding me about light even stronger. If you want to turn light, I'll speak for you.
Yeah.
Because you were really good. You caught me on some good ones, But you were very good about it. But, the point is that everything has to go to light sooner or later. Everything is love. Love is the only energy that's going to work. And we can try revenge. You can try, being sulky. You can try anything and everything. You can try self-hate. You can try hating others. And you can isolate yourself away from everybody. But since we're all one, that's going to be eventually impossible.
Right. And that was other parts of it that I was reading through. It's like, we have this entitlement that goes with when we feel certain things towards people, but that's, in my current experience, I'm relearning that there is no room, especially now that we're in a light age, for the what I believe, what my ego tells me I'm entitled to. If we are all one, being upset, frustrated, angry at another person, they may seem like normal human behavior things, but getting into that place or seeing it from that vantage point doesn't benefit me, and it doesn't benefit the other.
You're judging yourself.
Right.
There's something in whatever they're doing that you've done or you recognize within yourself. Everybody who judges themselves.
Right. And the thing about it is that you had said the other day when we were talking, now, especially being a light age, what works in a light age is the light. So doing things from that lower perspective doesn't work anymore. You're a creator. You can create a situation where the highest good happens for all. So the person who triggers you in some way, instead of being upset with them, you can ask for you and them to do the highest good, your high selves and source, do that which is for your best and highest good, and then add on into that, thank you so much for being a wonderful teacher. And that's what I'm relearning now. Not that I run around being upset with everybody all the time, but in the things that would snag me, I've learned a greater serenity with them, or a greater patience with them, and the value for it. That we're in a light age now. The light works. The light lights up. The light beings bring the light. That's just how it works.
Yep. Thank God we got here. Literally thanking divine, God, universe, whatever anybody wants to call it. We had a long journey, and it was a tough one, and we came through it, and we're on our, if you want to call it, when I think about going home or on my way home, is that peace and that harmony within me.
Right.
And so I'm not talking about necessarily a different place, where you leave and you pass away and you leave and you go on. That too, that is also, but I can have heaven on earth, and that's what people don't understand.
Right.
You think you have to die to go to heaven. You can have heaven on earth, but you're not going to have heaven on earth by going through that that negative stuff.
Right.
A dead candle, an unlit candle, cannot light another candle. You can't have negativity making positivity. The only way that can even influence it at all is the fact that by the negativity you understand what the positive is.
That's right. I agree with that 100%.
So understanding is extremely important. When you're manifesting, and it doesn't pay the rent for us to talk about, well, it all, it's kuma law inside. But you have every right to pay the rent. It helps everybody if you pay the rent. It's a unity kind of thing for everybody to have the money to do what they need to do. It's a freedom. Money needs me more than I need it, because without me, it doesn't have a purpose.
Right.
Or someone, so manifesting, it can't be that hard. Like I said before in the very beginning, we've been manifesting. We manifest all the time, but we can choose what we're manifesting. We can align it with the highest good and manifest what we really want and need, and be free instead of manifesting all the negative.
One of the things that crossed my mind, so the handful of conversations I've had lately, it came up about Buddhism and enlightenment and what is nirvana and I feel like this conversation that we've been having has been talking about it. You said to me a while back, enlightenment is to just bring in the light, to literally shed light on something that was either not conscious or not brought to the light, and bring light to it. So one of the things that, in addition, that I wrote down to, we have the antidote to pain. It's our own joy. It's our own happiness. It's our deliberate choice.
Pain is a messenger.
Mm-hmm.
So having the antidote or having the answer to pain is to get the message. to understand the message and tell the pain it doesn't need to be there anymore. You understand it.
And that our judgment programs the person or the situation, and we wind up getting more of what we don't want, whether it's judgment towards ourselves or judgment towards person, place, or thing. So it doesn't benefit us to be judgmental. But in saying that, Nancy, you are so good at observing without believing or judging. Is there something that you can share about how you got to that point?
Give me a second to sort of think about, answering that in an accurate way.
Okay.
I don't know. The more you get rid of what is not, the more you understand what's not, the more you feel comfortable with letting go of what's not, the easier it is to see things.
Okay.
So if I see things, I see a lot of beauty. I mean, it's like the children with the coloring books that have the hidden objects in the coloring book. I mean, there's so much light here that you don't even pay attention, because what gets all the focus and the attention is all the negative.
Right.
And all the believers in negativity and all that. Well, when you change, when you start getting into a different way of being and feeling and looking and seeing and being, then it doesn't matter. I know, it's not like I look at someone and think, well, you're never going to be light, you're doomed. And I do hear this from people a lot, not way too often. That person will never change. I'm sitting there going, and I often say to them, really? You better hope that's not true.
Yep.
Everybody has, the breath is in every single person. The thief, the handicap, the true, the athlete, the this, the that, every single person, everything has breath, but every single person, the crown of creation, has breath. They can change. There is no karma anymore. The Akashic crystal that is in the center of the planet got all of the negativity got erased from it, got taken out of it. Because here's why. I mean, people would argue with that, and plus Buddhism is a philosophy. It's not, I have archangels. I have, I have Jesus. I have a lot of people. I'm not, being a Buddhist. I have the best and most incredible respect for Buddhism and the teachings of Buddhism and being of Buddhism, but you have source right inside of you. So whatever way you're going to get to where you want to be, so be it. It's great. And there's a lot of different philosophies. A lot of things have been tainted. A lot of things are not true. A lot of things have been lied about and so on. But those things will be revealed. And I'm not responsible to make sure that everybody sees it my way at all.
Right.
I don't care. I know they're going to get there soon. I know that source is in them. They may not know source is in them. I look at them and I know exactly that they've got source.
That was another question. I'm glad you brought that up. So I know that you have participated in really magnificent healings. We were actually, Ash and I was here this weekend. She's here watching on the podcast, and I was saying, whether it's cancer or disease, you've participated in helping people to heal through these big things. And one of the things that I love is that polio story actually braids into that, because you're saying, I don't pay attention to the cancer. I don't pay attention to the disease. I pay attention to the light and the source within them. So can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Well, I just found out my sister has cancer. So, I have it again. And, I've had it many times in many people. It's not about not paying attention to it. I mean, if the hardest part, when you go to get cured, or, so-called cured with chemo and all the different treatments, when you take treatments, it keeps your mind right on the disease.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps the mind right on the disease, and it keeps you thinking about the disease. It's known as a killer, and it's going to be bad. And then you got to take these treatments. Then after you take the treatments, then you got to suffer through the treatment. Then you got to suffer after the treatment, and you got to do so. There's a lot of things that with a different attitude, and maybe tweaking, like one of my, Abby,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my students and friend, what I did with her was it was, and she was so good at hypnosis. She was very good at tools. So becoming more and more acquainted with different tools like meditation and hypnosis and things that can help. But she was very good at it. And what I did was, she was very logical. She had a lot of logic and reason. She ended up getting rid of 145 tumors, by the way. So anyway, but the reason she did it, the way she could do it, was when we programmed that here's the logic and reason, and you can take this logic and reason with any disease in a different way, a similar thing but a different way. And that is, what if chemo is if you're taking chemo, its job is to kill cancer cells. Would
Right.
you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So if the job is to kill cancer cells, it cannot touch a healthy cell.
Oh, I like
Your
that.
body and mind will be able to differentiate the healthy cells from the unhealthy cell.
That's
The chemo will
powerful.
only get rid of, kill, or whatever, dissolve the unhealthy cells. The healthy cells will stay healthy, and they will expand. There's solutions and ways to do this where you're believing more in the healing than you are in the disease. I'm not saying that you're not going to pay attention to it. I mean, if you and pain is a when I first heard, the first time I ever heard that pain was a gift, I went, yeah, right. I mean, honestly, that's the way I knew that was true, even though I was being that way. I knew inside me, I knew it was true. I just didn't understand it. So pain is a gift, but it's a messenger. Pain comes when I haven't paid attention to the imbalance. I haven't paid attention to an imbalance, or maybe I lifted something heavy and hurt my back or whatever, but I hurt my back because I wasn't paying attention to something that the spirit was trying to get me to pay attention to. So to me, pain is a messenger.
Right.
So I tell my body, I've got good news for you. You're not going to have to overwork. I will find the answer to the message. I will get the message. I will tell you I've got the message. You will know I got the message, and that you can go away immediately. You don't have to keep working at it. There's so many creative ways in this light age that we can do, and there's so many people that are so good at helping people get rid of the disease and get rid of the problem. There's so much information, on everything. I mean, YouTube's got information on every single thing and so on, but it's still up to the mind. When I had the COVID, and it was at the beginning, and I had double pneumonia, and the only reason I got it is because I didn't include myself in the healing. I won't do that again.
Never again.
But I worked on 1,000 people at that time, and to my knowledge, none of them got the COVID at that time. And so, I got it, but I took the hit because I didn't include myself. Now, I won't do that again. I will not include myself if I'm going to do, but I'm not probably going to do something like that again, because now all I have to do is bring in light. More light isn't going to hurt me.
Right.
So I'm not worried about now in this age, about doing something like that. So anyway, but what happened was the doctor came in and he said, "I know what you do, Nancy." He said, he said, "I can give you all the expensive medication," which he did. But he said, "We both know who's going to do the healing." I said, "Absolutely." So the first day I healed my one lung. Second day I healed 3/4 of it. The third day it was all gone. In 5 days I walked out and I was totally cured. So it's just part. I think a lot of this, Teresa, is science. I don't think it's, I don't think just because you're more homeopathic in your thinking and so on, or your homeopathic is that the body, mind, and spirit are all connected. So just because you have that insight more than maybe some, But you can intertwine the medicine. Like I knew that Abby was absolutely going to take chemo. She was going to take it no matter what. So then we came up with a way that her mind could accept that she could, and she worked straight through all that time period. She never had sickness from it. She didn't have the side effects from the chemo. She never had a lot of the stuff. Why? Because the chemo was only killing cancer cells. So she might have, and then she would detox from the cancer cells. But, there's ways to work on these things, and they're coming up with more and more meditations and more things to do. It's not as hopeless as it used to be. And if I believe in the disease, it's not ignoring something. If I believe, ignoring means you're ignorant. You're ignoring something that you're supposed to pay attention to, or that I mean, to convince someone they don't have cancer when they've got it is going to be pretty tough.
Right.
But you can imagine it disappearing. You can imagine it dissolving. You can imagine that the body is now free of it and it went away. And you could do that if you can make your mind think that you never had it, it didn't exist, because eventually you're going to do that. Eventually you're going to get to the place where you don't have it.
You used to say, or one of the things that we learned was, how will you feel when? And I found that specifically helpful. Do you think that's still relevant for us?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, that was a really wonderful technique. So just to explain it for those who are watching with us, if I said, Nancy, I'm struggling financially and I don't know what to do and I feel really stressed out. If you try to spearhead the stress, you might meet resistance on that because you're going directly towards the stress, which has momentum behind it. But if Nancy, in her intelligence, just wise beingness, was like, well, how will you feel when you have the money? And I said, well, I would feel relief. And instantly I would feel relief. And then she, well, how will you feel when something really wonderful happens for you? How will you feel when everything works out? How will you feel when? And I would go through the motion. She goes, well, if you understand how you'll feel when it happens for you, that's you getting into alignment with the vibration. That's you and the awareness of what the vibration feels like. And if you can then get into alignment with the vibration of the solution, then you can get in vibrational alignment with whatever it is that you're trying to come into union with, whether it's peace of mind, serenity, ease, lack of stress, bringing in prosperity, that happy relationship to self, to source, to other, to friends, a vacation, like peace on earth, whatever it is, that really helped me to get out of my own way. And I think that's what a lot of manifesting is holding space for the divine to come in, so that we may not know the divine all at once when we begin, even though on a soul level we do. But as we continue to hold space and be open to it, source then can come to us larger and larger and say, here I am, I'm right here, I'm here in this flower, I'm here in this breeze, I'm here in the serenity, I'm here. And you'll know that it's me from the way that you feel. And that to me is the most important aspect of manifesting.
When you do things like that, I was a hypnotist for many years, a medical hypnotist. And, what you do, I mean, if I started out with people that did habit breaking, like smoking and stuff. That's where I started. I didn't stay just in that, but I did a lot of other things with it. But it's a beautiful tool. It's a really good tool when it's used correctly. And the idea, I mean, to convince someone that they've never smoked when they've smoked for 20 years is not going to go very far.
Right.
But convince the man, it's more about updating the subconscious, to update it. When you first started smoking, it was something you wanted to do, you felt good, but now you've changed your mind. So now that you've changed your mind, it's going to disappear and it's going to vanish. You won't have any, you don't have any, go through the whole thing where you are free and there's no taste, there's no desire for it. You just changed your mind.
Yeah, I like too when you talked about your hypnotism of asking the person, when are you ready to quit? is it a day
Oh,
from now?
yeah, I've done that too.
And it'd be, that's what you shared with me, you know, and whatever the person said when they were in that hypnotic state, a week from now, a day, tomorrow.
I didn't have that happen too often, because if you're good at, if with hypnosis being the tool it is, if you're good at identifying the right suggestions, the ones that the mind can take, you know, the ones a person agrees with, and so on, then it's really pretty easy. Every once in a while, I'll say, "Do you want to?" You know, there's a lot of different things you can say, but when do you want to quit? You want to quit in a day, too? You want to quit in a month? Do you change your mind? You know, what do you want?
Yeah.
But that's the same thing with manifesting, you know, because people have fear that they're not going to get what they want. And they have fear that, they're going to misuse it, or they have fear, you know, that it's not going to last, or they have fears and then confusion and doubt.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of things. You get what you want. Would you like to try and see what it feels like when money comes in unexpectedly? And I would say, that would be one way. I mean, why don't we see if we can do this? You know, let's see if there's some way that you can surrender and just go. It's not about not believing or believing. It's about, let's see. Let's experiment with this. Let's understand if that's possible.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of things you can do. You know, it depends on the person. I change it depending on who I'm working with.
Yeah, it definitely, like, you know, doubt and fear can be persuasive, but there's techniques or there's mindsets that are much more persuasive than the fear and doubt.
We have a better chance than ever now.
Yeah.
We've never had as much miracle and wonderful opportunities. That this breath is inside of us. It's the higher divine energy, and we have high selves. We've got we've got a lot of things, a lot of people teaching, a lot of angels talking, that are here on earth, a lot of masters that are here. We've got a lot of really wonderful opportunity now that is definitely going to be beyond help. I mean, it's going to be really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you could say that's hope, but I'd rather say I know it's going to happen.
I'd rather say that too. And on that note, we're going to wrap up our episode about manifesting on Psychic Zen. We love you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week on Wednesday. Stay well, and everybody have a wonderful rest of their week.